What if the very moment she thought you were broken was the exact moment you began to rebuild into something unstoppable? What if her leaving wasn't your ending, but the beginning of your silence, echoing louder than her presence ever did? Here's the truth. When a man reclaims his energy, when he turns inward and stops chasing the world starts chasing him. And so does she. You gave her all of you. The late-night talks, the deep loyalty, the raw vulnerability. You opened your heart like a fool because you thought love meant sacrifice. And when she left, it shattered everything. The silence felt like torture. The why never came. You begged the universe for closure. But listen closely. Closure is a myth. It's a lie we tell ourselves to delay the real work. Because the real work, it's cold, it's lonely, it's ruthless. It's the grind of becoming the man who doesn't need her back, because he found something greater. This is not a fairy tale. This is the reality of masculine evolution. When pain doesn't soften you, it sharpens you. When you stop explaining yourself to people who don't care, when you stop trying to fix what chose to leave, that's when the shift begins. She thought you'd crumble. She thought you'd spiral. But instead, you vanished. No texts, no stories, no breadcrumbs, just silence, just presence, just progress. And the most powerful part? You didn't do it for her. You did it for you. Not to prove a point, but because you are the point. Because a man who doesn't need to be seen becomes unforgettable. A man who doesn't chase validation becomes the one who holds power. She can't look away, not because you tried to impress her, but because you became the mystery, the story she'll never finish, the one she'll replay in her head when the room goes quiet. This isn't revenge. This isn't petty. This is stoicism. This is control. This is you. Choosing mastery over misery. If you're done begging for closure, if you're ready to become the version of yourself she never saw coming, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I am the silence that speaks volumes. Number 1. The shatter, when she walked away. It always starts the same way. She looks at you differently. The warmth fades. The texts slow down. Her body's still there, but her soul left days ago. And then she's gone. Maybe she said she needed time. Maybe she ghosted you completely. Maybe she hit you with the cruelest line of all. You deserve someone better. But it doesn't matter. Because when she left, it felt like your entire identity cracked open. You built a world around her. Your routines, your plans, your dreams. You thought she was your home, but you were wrong. You were the only one building. You gave her consistency, loyalty, presence, and in return, she gave you absence. That's the hardest part. She didn't just leave you. She left without warning, without closure, without a single ounce of the care you showed her. That silence, it was a bullet, and it hit you in every place you trusted her with. The urge to fix it is overwhelming. You scroll through your old messages, replay every conversation, wonder where you went wrong. You're on the edge of texting her, on the edge of apologizing for things you didn't even do. You think maybe, just maybe, if she knew how much you hurt, she'd come back. But that's where most men fail. That's the trap. Because what she's really doing isn't disappearing, it's observing. She wants to see if she still controls your emotional state. She wants to know if your world falls apart without her attention. And when you break, when you beg, when you panic, she gets her answer. She owns you, not physically, psychologically. So what do? You let it shatter, all of it. Let the pain hit like a wave. Don't numb it. Don't distract yourself with fake highs or forced positivity. Sit with it. Let it hollow you out, because that emptiness, that's the birthplace of power. When you lose everything you clung to, you're finally free to rebuild, not as who you were, but as who you were meant to be. This is where the average man spirals. But you're not average. You don't beg for what walked away. You don't chase someone who discarded you like you were replaceable. You go ghost, not out of spite, but out of strength. You let your silence say what your words never could. I don't need you to complete me. I needed you to break me so I could finally wake up. That's the shift. That's the crack in the armor where the light starts to come through. Number 2, the mirror, seeing yourself without illusions. After the fall, after the silence, there's a moment when the noise stops. No more reaching for your phone. No more pretending you're okay. No more lying to yourself about what it was. It's just you and the mirror. And for the first time, you see it all clearly. Not just who she was, but who you were when you were with her. You see the version of you that bent too much, gave too much, apologized for things that weren't even wrong. The man who made her his center, who confused attachment with love, who gave up pieces of himself to keep her around. It's a painful reflection, but it's also the most important one. Because this is where real power starts, not when you blame her, but when you face yourself. No more victim stories, no more she did this, she did that. She played her role, but so did you. And that version of you, the one who needed her to feel whole, he has to go. This is where the Stoic mindset cuts through. The world owes you nothing. Women owe you nothing. And pain? Pain is the tuition you pay for clarity. You look in the mirror and you don't just see the heartbreak. You see the cracks in your character that let it happen. You see where you lacked discipline, where you chased instead of led, where you sought comfort instead of command. And you decide, never again. You stop looking for the old you. You bury him. You kill the need to be liked, the need to be saved, the need to be chosen. And in that space, something colder, cleaner, and sharper is born. A man who sees reality without filters. A man who owns his darkness, who controls his light. A man who doesn't need to be told he's enough, because he knows he is, with or without her. This is the moment you separate, not from her, but from the version of yourself that needed her. Number 3, the silence, cutting the cord. Now comes the part most men fail, the silence. Not the passive, I'll wait for her to text first silence. Not the fake no contact where you're secretly watching her stories, hoping she notices you're missing. I'm talking about real silence, nuclear silence, the kind where you cut the emotional cord completely, where you disappear, not for attention, but because you understand that staying connected is staying controlled. You don't block her to make a statement. You block her to break the spell. Every digital breadcrumb, every follow, every scroll, every check-in, it feeds the addiction, and you can't heal from what you're still feeding. So you go dark, not loud, not dramatic, just gone. Not because you're weak, because you're done bleeding energy into a person who's no longer invested. And here's what makes this silence powerful. It's not about punishing her. It's about protecting you. You've realized that waiting for closure is a form of self-abandonment. You stop seeking it from her and start creating it within. That means no reaction when she posts a thirst trap. No response when she randomly texts, "Hey," 3 weeks later to test the waters. No need to prove you're doing well. You just are. And she'll feel that, because feminine energy senses emotional shifts. When you were anxious, waiting, needing, she felt it. That gave her power. But now your energy is cut off. You're no longer leaking attention. You're no longer orbiting her. And that makes her wonder, because silence from a man who used to care loudly is deafening. This is how you reclaim control. You stop explaining yourself. You stop chasing conversations. You let the space speak for itself. And it says, I've moved on with or without you. You no longer get access to the man you took for granted. Number 4, the rebuild, control the inner world. Now that the noise is gone, now that you've cut the cord, the real work begins. Not on her, not on the past, on you. This is where most men get lost. They think silence is enough, that just disappearing makes them stronger. It doesn't. Disappearing is just the doorway. What you do in the dark, that's what defines the new you. This is where you rebuild, not for revenge, not to get her back, but because you finally understand that no one is coming to save you. The gym becomes therapy, discipline becomes your religion. Every rep, every cold shower, every early morning, it's a brick. A wall you build around your emotions, not to hide from them, but to master them. Your new mindset, feel everything, react to nothing. You start tracking everything, your sleep, your food, your thoughts. You cut out the junk, the porn, the endless scrolling, the weak friends. You stop negotiating with comfort and start moving with precision. You realize something simple but brutal. Peace is earned, confidence is built, and masculinity isn't about being loud, it's about being solid, calm, unshakable. You make your world smaller, not lonelier, sharper. You pour into your purpose, you develop skill. You study philosophy, psychology, war, strategy. You become someone useful, not emotionally erratic, not reactionary, not desperate, but composed, collected, cold when necessary. You stop thinking about how to be attractive to her. You become someone she could never handle in the first place. And here's the twist. Once you focus inward, the outer world starts to change. You move different. You speak less. You say no more often. You stop chasing highs. You don't need approval. You don't even need company. You're not trying to impress. You're trying to improve. This is what it means to reclaim your center. To be the man who doesn't chase, doesn't react, doesn't break. You're no longer at the mercy of what happens to you. You've built a fortress inside, and from there, everything changes. Number 5. The mask. Become unreadable. Now that your foundation is solid, it's time to put on the mask, not to deceive, but to protect, to become unreadable. Because here's the truth, when people can't read you, they can't control you, and when she can't figure out what you're thinking, feeling, or planning, she starts thinking about you more than ever. Before, you were an open book. She could predict your every move. You wore your heart on your sleeve. You explained yourself. You shared too much. You reacted emotionally, whether it was love, hurt, or frustration. It was all out in the open. And that made you easy to manipulate, easy to walk away from, easy to forget. But that version of you is gone. Now, your face is calm. Your voice is even. Your energy is detached. You say less. You let people guess. When someone tries to get a rise out of you, they hit a wall. You've trained your emotions like a warrior trains his reflexes, disciplined, deadly, and contained. Your wins? Quiet. Your losses? Even quieter. You move in shadows, not because you're hiding, but because you're no longer performing. This unreadability, it drives people crazy, especially her. She'll start checking your social media, reading between the lines, overthinking every silence. She'll wonder, is he seeing someone? Does he miss me? Why isn't he reaching out? But you don't answer those questions. You are the question. Mystery creates tension. Tension creates attraction. But here's the catch. You're not doing it for her. You're doing it because a man who values peace over attention becomes a force. And if people want to access your energy now, they have to earn it. No more giveaways, no more overexposure. You don't explain, you don't defend, you just exist, and let your energy speak for itself. This isn't about being cold, it's about being sovereign. You've stepped into a higher tier of self-respect. The mask doesn't hide you, it reveals who you really are, calculated, centered, untouchable. Number 6. The frame. Define your world. Now that you're unreadable, now that you're disciplined, here's the next evolution. You build the frame. And by frame, I mean the mental boundaries that shape your reality. You no longer live inside anyone else's story, not hers, not society's, not your past selves. You're not reacting anymore, you're dictating. Before, your identity was fluid, too fluid. You adjusted yourself to make her comfortable. You downplayed your ambition so she wouldn't feel small. You softened your words to avoid arguments. You gave her the steering wheel while you just rode shotgun. That's over. You're the architect now. You set the tone. You define what's acceptable, what's not, what gets your time, and what doesn't. And here's what makes this shift magnetic. People feel it before they see it. Your presence becomes grounded. You walk into a room and don't need to dominate. You just don't bend. You're no longer afraid to be misunderstood. You're not explaining your grind. You're not looking for applause. You're too busy building your reality. This is the core of masculine energy. Direction. Men with no direction fall into the frame of others. Men with purpose, they pull others into their orbit. And that includes her, because the moment she realizes you're not watching her anymore is the moment she starts watching you. The stronger your frame, the more her curiosity turns into obsession. Who is he becoming? Why does he feel so far away now? Why do I still think about him when he's clearly not thinking about me? That's the shift. You're not chasing women anymore. You're chasing excellence. You're not trying to impress her. You're building something so real, so firm, so grounded that if she wants to be part of it, she'll have to qualify. But whether she does or not doesn't matter, because your frame isn't built for her, it's built for you. Number 7. The echo. When she starts watching again. Here's where things start to shift in the outer world. You're not watching her anymore, but she's watching you. The energy flipped. And not because you posted thirst traps or flexed a fake lifestyle. It's because your absence created an echo. A silence that keeps ringing in her head, louder than your words ever did. At first, she was fine. She told herself you'd come crawling back. She thought the silence was a phase. She fed on the attention of others to numb the space you used to fill. But weeks pass, and you never flinch. You never text. You don't accidentally like her posts. You don't pop up in her orbit. Instead, you're just gone. Not bitter, not loud, just focused. And that focus becomes impossible to ignore. Now she's checking your profile, re-watching your old stories, rereading your texts just to feel something. She won't admit it. She'll pretend to be unbothered. But that curiosity, it's back, and it's eating at her, because you're no longer a man trying to be chosen. You're a man who chose himself, and that's the rarest thing in her world. Here's what makes it brutal for her. She expected you to chase. That's what most men do. They crack under pressure. They reach out after a few days. But you vanished and leveled up in silence. And now you don't even move the same. Your aura has changed. Your words, if you speak at all, hit different. You're unpredictable, grounded, unmoved. You've become what she never expected. A man she can't influence anymore. She starts reacting. Maybe she posts a story for your attention. Maybe she accidentally likes one of your old pictures. Maybe she sends a subtle DM just to test the water. But your response? Silence or stillness. Because you're not looking for breadcrumbs anymore. You're building a feast, and not everyone's invited. This is when she starts realizing she didn't just lose a guy, she lost a man who was becoming something she'll never have access to again. And that regret? It doesn't show up in her words. It shows up in her obsession. Number 8. The test. She comes back. This is the part that separates the men from the noise. She reaches out. Maybe it's casual, a "Hey stranger" text. Maybe it's disguised concern. "I've been thinking about you. How are you doing?" Or maybe it's bold. She misses you, wants to talk, wants to catch up. But it's not about what she says. It's about why she's saying it. She's testing, not to see if you're okay, but to see if she still owns space in your mind. This is the final temptation, and how you respond here. That decides if you stay powerful or fall back into the trap. See, she doesn't miss the old you. She misses the access to the old you, the comfort, the attention, the emotional safety net. What she's really asking is, are you still mine? And the average man folds here. He thinks this is what he wanted, her coming back. So he opens the door. He gives her his time. He asks questions. He hopes this is the start of something real. But nothing has changed. The same dynamic is waiting to repeat itself, because you've changed, but she hasn't. So you don't rush. You don't even flinch. You keep your power. If you reply at all, it's calm, brief, clear, no emotion, no validation, no fishing for closure. You don't give her the reaction she's used to, and that shakes her more than any angry text ever could, because now she sees it. You're not hurt. You're not waiting. You're over it. And not because someone else replaced her, but because you replaced the version of yourself that needed her. That's the moment she realizes she's no longer the storm. You are. This is your test. Do you fall back into her frame, or do you stand firm in yours? Do you let her pull you back into the past, or do you move forward with clarity, with command, with zero need for validation? Number 9. The choice: power or permission. Here's where the illusion shatters completely. When she comes back, it's tempting to believe this is your moment, that finally she sees your worth. But let's get real. This isn't about love. This is about control. Her return is a test, not a trophy. And now you face the most important decision of all. Do you reach for the past, or do you walk with power? Because the man you've become doesn't need closure. He doesn't need apologies. He doesn't even need her to understand what she lost. You've already won the war by choosing you. The old you would have taken her back, not out of strength, but out of need. That craving for validation, that ache to be seen. But the man you are now, he's moved beyond needing permission to feel valuable. He's not looking to be chosen. He chooses himself. That's the shift. Masculine power isn't loud. It's not emotional. It doesn't argue or explain. It simply moves on, not in bitterness, but in dominance. Because when a man masters himself, he becomes untouchable. You no longer tolerate what drains you. You don't dance with the past hoping for different music. You've realized peace is the real flex. Discipline is the real seduction. And purpose is the real prize. She may say she's changed. She may cry. She may beg. But deep down, you know, she's not drawn to your words. She's drawn to your energy. And that energy only exists because you stopped giving it away. You stopped looking for her approval, and that's exactly what made you magnetic again. But now, you don't need her to complete the loop. You already closed it. So here's the question. Do you step back into her frame and play the same broken game? Or do you keep walking, knowing she had her shot, and she lost a man she'll never get again? Number 10. The mystery. You became the unfinished story. This is where the journey ends for her, but begins for you. You didn't just walk away. You became the mystery, the story without an ending. The man she can't explain to her friends, the one who disappeared without drama, transformed without a sound, and never looked back. And that haunts her more than anything you could have said, because there's no closure, no final chapter, just a silence she keeps trying to decode and can't. She replays it all now. The late-night talks, the way you looked at her like she was the only one, the things you did without ever asking for praise. And the cold reality hits. She didn't lose a boy desperate for love. She lost a man who mastered himself, and there's no going back, no do-over. She wasn't replaced by someone else. She was replaced by your purpose, your vision, your peace. And that's what makes you unforgettable. Because you didn't just survive the heartbreak, you used it. You let it carve you into something sharper, deeper, calmer. And now, you don't chase, you don't explain, you don't hope. You exist, powerfully, quietly, completely. You became the man who doesn't need to be seen because his presence is felt. A man whose silence speaks louder than her apologies ever could. This is the final shift. You're not looking for closure. You are the closure. You're not an open book anymore. You're a locked journal, no key, no access. She may wonder, she may regret, but she'll never fully understand how you went from needing her to needing nothing. That's the beauty of mystery. It never ends, and that's why she'll never stop looking back. You became the man she can't forget, because you became the man who doesn't need to be remembered. You started this video because something inside you cracked, because she left, and you thought that was the end. But now you know the truth. It was the beginning. The heartbreak was your wake-up call. The silence was your turning point, and the transformation, that was all you. No one saved you. No one handed you closure. You dug your way out, alone. And now you're standing on ground you built with your own hands. Let her wonder. Let her watch. Let her regret. That's not your story anymore. You don't need her to validate your glow-up. You are the glow-up. You've stepped into something most men never touch. Stoic power, quiet dominance, emotional mastery. This isn't about getting her back. This is about never losing yourself again. And this is just phase one. Because once you reclaim your energy, once you take your pain and turn it into presence, the game changes forever. People feel it. Life opens up. New opportunities, new levels, new women who recognize the force you've become. But none of it matters unless you know who you are now. And you do. That mystery, that silence, that power, it's not temporary. It's your new standard. So to every man watching this, understand this isn't the end of your story. This is your origin. This is where the legend begins. If you're done letting the past define you, if you're ready to walk in full power and never look back, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I am reborn in silence. You've become the mystery, and now they can't look away.